PR Connections Radio presents. This podcast is brought to you by LifeWave. Ready to elevate your wellness game? Meet X39 from LifeWave.com. This game-changing patch uses phototherapy to stimulate your skin, enhancing strength and stamina by channeling your body's innate energy. Simply apply it to harness infrared heat, naturally boosting your vitality. Want to learn more? Visit www.lifewave.com/VernD and step into a healthier, more active lifestyle today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to JP's Teachers Lounge, Season 1, Episode 14. Today I'm going to talk about, well, the title is, Are You Working to Live or Living to Work? It's, I guess, a bit of a kind of a natural continuation to what I talked about last time about being... When I tell people I'm a teacher, teachers, we don't get paid enough. We don't get paid. Okay, yeah, great, but I don't want to be praised. I want to be just respected, just like everyone else is, as a professional. And there are many other professionals out there, and I just want to be respected, just like everyone else does, and don't use the guilt as a weapon to pay us less and just to give us lip service. And then it got me to thinking about the whole idea of, again, are you working to live or living to work? I love quotes, and I especially love with the syntax of the rearrangement of words, where it just changes the whole dynamics of things. My whole adult life, I've been struggling with my weight, okay? And it's, a lot of it is, stress, and that's how people respond to it. Some people smoke, drink, do drugs. You got to find a constructive way of doing things, of dealing with stress. And I'm getting better as I get older. But it's the whole idea of, am I living to eat or eating to live? Well, obviously the latter is the most important. Eating to live. You eat to live. You don't live to eat. Now, you could certainly enjoy your food. That's great. But you eat just enough to live, and don't overindulge. You overindulge, you gain weight, you get stomach aches, you have all these problems. Plus, it's not the right way to just approach things. You only take what is needed, and I want to apply that to are you working to live or living to work? As a teacher for many years, I had summers off, and as the years went on, I had less and less time, because I'd have a part-time job, and do other things, and taking classes, and trying to keep up with my teaching license, and learning new things, catching up on my reading, traveling a little bit, seeing family, seeing friends, and again, there's whether you want to take the summers off or not, it's certainly your choice. And as teachers, we don't get paid that much, at least in a general sense, but we have time off, at least from the job. Now, again, depending on how dedicated you are, there's teachers who are always working, whether it's summer school or just learning, working on creating new lessons, learning new things. So it's everyone's different, but when you have a career should be enough to live, at least to live comfortably. Now, when I was with the school district, I have to consider I got time off, I have sick days, I have benefits, I'm building up retirement. So I don't expect to make that much money because you're making it off the backs of taxpayers, and I'm also a taxpayer. However, that leads to the question of, how much is enough. If you have your job, you have your full-time job, whatever it is, what is it enough to have one job, or if you need two jobs, or you do need three jobs, and then it gets to the point where you are living just to work. Now, don't get me wrong, I believe in capitalism, and I believe in, if you want something, depending on what kind of life you want, if you want to take vacations, go out in nice restaurants, all those kinds of things, yeah, it takes money. It takes money to have the best of so many things. Now, again, to at what point do we just say, at what point do we just say, okay, enough's enough? I mean, you work three jobs and kill yourself just to live. That's not the quality of life. You run into a trap. Now, I had a part-time job, and I quit about 4 years ago. I enjoyed it, but it got to the point where it wasn't worth my time. It wasn't worth the headache. And plus, at the time, we had to wear the stupid little face diapers, whatever you want to call it, the masks, ridiculous things. And I just got, I'm fed up. I'm tired. Now, again, that was my decision. Okay. Now, of course, my income dropped a little bit, but then I started thinking, okay, let me go back and do a job like that. And then I thought to myself, I'm going into the same trap, because now, even if I enjoy it, that's not the point. I'm living just to work. Why is that? Why? I mean, you can't keep up with inflation. You're living just to work. Or I could just work for myself. That takes a lot of time, a lot of energy, but at least you're working for yourself. But I got caught in the trap, or I didn't want to get caught in the trap again. You're living just to work. What about the quality of life? Now, I understand that, again, you want a certain quality of life, you have to pay for it. You have to pay it, you have to pay for it some way or another. But when they keep raising the bar, raising the goalpost, that's not fair either. So we run into traps with those kinds of things, and it's not fair. I don't think it's fair. Some people will disagree with me, so let's have a conversation about that. At what point do we say, again, if all you want to do is work, that's fine if that's your choice. But when people talk about, if you have a full-time job, or even just working consistently, you should have a living wage. Well, obviously that's going to change from place to place, from different locales, state, city. Obviously, it costs more to live in places like California, New York. Have you seen the weather there? It's beautiful. I mean, there's a reason why. But in my present job, I enjoy, I mean, I'm happy there. I love it there. But I'm technically I'm part-time. However, I'm there 5 days a week for about 7 hours, 8 hours, depending. I come home early. Sometimes I come home early. Sometimes I stay around a little while, get some work done, and then also I work on weekends. But just being able to, okay, weekends, I got to prepare for the next week, next lessons. What am I doing? Do some research, do work on some lessons, grade some papers. I'm still thinking. I'm still on the job. I'm still on call, so to speak. Well, not on call, but I'm. This is always working up here. Does that sound like part time to you? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Now, for people who work 12, 14, 16, 20 hour or 24 shifts, yeah, my schedule's nothing. But that's me. I only want to work 4 or 5 hours a day. That's all I want to work. Now, I don't need a day off every week. Maybe once in a while, want to go somewhere, do something. It's nice to have one day a week off just to look forward to. But that's just me. Some people can work 12 hours, no problem. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that. But I also understand that it takes money to make money, and if you want something, you have to put in the time and put in the effort. I totally understand that. I'm not asking for anything for free. So it leads me to believe my job is, what constitutes part-time? What is it? Who determines it? What determines full-time? Now, to me, part-time is the job I had before, where I worked security work, did some usher, worked event security, and once you're signed off, you're done, and you don't. It's not like you have to go home and do homework for it. No, you're done, and you don't work until you come back again, and then you clock back in. So that's a part-time job. A full-time job is, whether you're working at home or working at work, you're still, if 3 o'clock rolls around, 3:30, 4 o'clock, and you know that you have to get semester finals done, you know that you need to get papers back to students, you know that you need to have some kind of idea of what your lesson's going to be for tomorrow. And I prep for 5 different classes. That means different different classes, not just 5 periods for one course. Again, does that sound like part-time to you? For some people, maybe it does, but the whole idea is I need to. It'd be nice to establish what considers part-time, what considers full-time. And again, to me, full-time it's a career. It's something that, of course, you need to sleep, you need to eat, you need to take time off, but the next day, or there's always things you need to take care of. Similarly, if you have your own business, have your own, and you go home and take some time off, take a nap or whatever, and then there's a problem at your business, you got to go address it, or you hire somebody else to do that. But if that person is not cutting the mustard, then what do? Well, you're not going to let your business fall apart, so you're going to have to take care of it. So you try to find reliable people, and that costs money. But if you're making the money, then great. So there's always a trade-off. But again, what constitutes part-time? What constitutes full-time? Because my job, I'm under the suspicion that, well, there are certain restrictions. They can't raise the tuition a whole lot, and I understand that. Just so there are some restrictions. But are you putting someone part-time just so that not only you don't have to give people benefits, but if they complain or, hey, I'm not being paid enough, I'm not being paid enough to make a living, well, you're part-time. Okay, that doesn't really help me because it doesn't feel like part-time. It certainly isn't part-time. I look at my paycheck. If this were 30, 40 years ago, okay, but it's not. So do we even bother with part-time, full-time? Because again, it's a status, it's a headline. It's so what, again, we need, I would like to find a true line of what constitutes full-time, part-time, because I guarantee you, if you survey 100 people, there's going to be a lot of disagreement. So again, are we setting a trap for ourselves? Excuse me. Are we setting a trap for? Well, it's you're part-time, so therefore, if you complain about it, we got this. Well, all right. So can we be tax exempt? No, I'm sorry, you can't do that. Well, okay. Well, we're paying taxes. We're paying taxes for what? Where, if the government knows, and there was a meme on Facebook the other day, it was great. I've seen it before. It circulates. If the government can figure out how, everything that I spend, shouldn't we be able to figure out where all of our tax money goes to? Again, our taxes are being used for not for how we want it. Don't we have a say? Because I guarantee you, we would say no. Have, put our money elsewhere. But we can't do that. So they keep taking from us. And again, if I know that, I would gladly pay a little more if I know my neighbor down the street, make sure he or she gets Social Security check, make sure he or she gets a life-saving surgery and not have to file bankruptcy. Would I be willing to pay a little more in taxes? Sure, no problem. If it's actually helping people, but we know it's not. Maybe a little bit of it is. And that, again, that's not only the trap, but it's, we don't we can't even opt out of Social Security. Well, of course not, because they need it. It's funny because when I was working for the school district, and I was a union member, and I dropped out years later, but I was a union member for a while. And you had 2 weeks throughout the whole year to drop out of the union. 2 weeks, and it was in July. 2 weeks in July, when people are on vacation. They're hoping that people are on vacation. They'll forget about it. That's your opportunity. And then, oh, sorry, you missed the deadline. Oh, you put the request in the mail or the email. Oh, we couldn't find it. We didn't receive it. Okay, now we're collecting dues from you for another year. Well, if they were really, if they would really stand by their product, hey, you can quit anytime. Maybe a turnaround of 3 or 4 days or whatever. Okay, you resign from the union, and okay, you might have another paycheck where dues will be taken out, but after that, none. So what does that tell you? We can't opt out of Social Security. They're taking from us, and we don't have, we don't have we don't have a say in it. It's time we start realizing, like, there is a war. There are a lot of wars, but every time we go to war, like we're going to war right now, it's taken away from us. It's taken away from our next generation and the following generation. It's taking away. And don't get me wrong, sometimes there's a war is justified, but we're going to question it, and we need to question it. So getting back to, I mean, yes, today's going to be about politics, but not in an unusual way, because again, I grew up as a conservative, and I'm mostly conservative. However, I really see, not as I get older, I'm really seeing both sides. Both sides offer different things, and I used to think, well, if you want the best, if you want the best, find out what job you have that where the market pays more, where you offer more value. And I get that to a point, but if you're working, and I understand certain jobs, like entry level jobs at McDonald's, nothing wrong with that, because I knew a few people who started McDonald's and then went through the management program and made a career out of it, and they made good money. But that's if you join the management program, and there's certainly opportunity for that. But entry level jobs are not designed for to make a living. Just like part-time jobs are not designed to make a living. But just because you post a part-time, this is part-time, that doesn't make it an excuse. Because at least in my situation, it's not part-time. Now, whether it's full-time, it's closer to full-time than part-time. And I told my principal, who I really respect, and we have a great relationship, and I said, I want to be on one side or the other. I'm right in the middle. I'm kind of middle towards part-time, full-time, but not quite. So I said, either, if I'm going to get paid like part-time, I want to feel like I'm working part-time, like 2 classes, maybe 3. But even then, you start doing 3 classes, and then it gets to the point where it's kind of right in the middle, or make me full-time. But unfortunately, certain restrictions can't do that, because they can't pay if there's nothing there, if there's not enough there. And I totally understand that. But it led me to start thinking about what constitutes part-time and full-time. It's not, I understand it's not clear cut sometimes, but my point is I'm right in the middle, or actually more towards full-time, but I'm not quite. And all I ask for is I want to be on one side, not in the middle. Politically, it's great. It's great to be somewhere in the middle, somewhere in the center, whether you're left of center, right of center, somewhere gravitating somewhere in the center, which is good. And my principal said, well, you want another class? I said, well, yeah, if that makes me full time, great. Well, let's see. And sometimes that doesn't work out. But then again, you start working, and then all of a sudden you have a wage for a year. You have a contract for a year, and your wage stays where it is, but yet inflation goes up, or sometimes it's gone down, but the last 3 or 4 years it's gone up. And what's interesting about inflation is, I think there's a study done that said, like, for the last 20 years, inflation on average only was barely going up. Um, but when you have, but when it's all of a sudden like shooting up, you can't adjust to it. Well, it's kind of like with rent. You expect rent to go up. You expect car purchases to go up. You expect property to go up, of course. But when it goes up, 20-30% in 1 year or 6 months, that's pretty bad because you can't adjust to it. So I understand paying more, but I need to, especially with my job, I don't get paid that much, but I get paid regularly. Let me let me spread it out, because I think that's the most effective way to spread it out. That, to me, that's just common sense. I understand. Again, my first apartment here in Las Vegas back in 1999, I had a one bedroom apartment for 650 a month, and it was a nice, somewhat new apartment. A washer and dryer had my own washer and dryer, little patio area, nice and clean. 650 bucks a month. Now that same apartment is probably like 1,300. Again, it's going to go up, but it needs to go up gradually. It needs to match our wage. I'm retired right now, and we get a cost of living raise. I think I got like 2% or 3%. But the whole idea of having a cost of living raise is it's expected that inflation, the cost of living, is going to go up 2 to 3%, not 20%, not 23%, not 25%, at least in 1 year. And the whole idea of retirement is that you remain in the same financial status where you are when you started. So you have the same purchasing power when you started in retirement, and then let's say 5-10 years being retired, you have the same purchasing power. You don't lose ground. You don't really gain ground, but you don't really lose ground either. But if you want more money, you can always work part-time and do other things. That's the whole point. But with all they do, if they keep printing money, or not even printing money, push a button and more money's in the system, now the money that you have in your account, in your pocket, is worth less. And then you got to pay, then you got to work more to get the same thing. We're losing ground. And we're not only losing ground, but the money our tax money that's going is going to things that we don't want, or that don't benefit us. So again, it's important for all of us to be aware of that. And I want to have a conversation as to if someone can help me out, what constitutes part-time, what constitutes full-time, how many jobs do you need to have to live a good life? Shouldn't we have some kind of protection with work, where we avoid working or living just to work, or living just to work, not working for a living. We all want to work for a living. To me, work is not a 4-letter word, as long as it's fulfilling. But even if it's not, at least you put in the time, put in the effort, and you get something. But work, it's the whole idea, just like living to eat or eating to live. Eating to live is what's natural. You eat so that you can maintain and sustain your body for nourishment. Okay. You don't live just to eat. Okay, that's bad. Okay, the same way it's bad whether or not whether you enjoy it or not, great, or whether there's a need for it or not. If you work and you don't need to work, but you work, great, good for you. Okay, that's a choice, that's fine. But I'm talking about the people who are under, you know, under between a rock and a hard place, where they have to work in order to live, and they're living just to work. So when do they live? I want a conversation. I want someone to tell me what constitutes that and what we can do to help. So I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in today. And again, I'm reaching out. I want to open up the conversation where we can talk and explore this and see where it goes. Let's help people. I don't expect anything for free. I work hard. Don't expect to work for free. I believe in trading with one another for mutual benefit. And for the most part, it's not. But it needs. But I'm always hopeful. So please, if anyone's interested, please reach out to me on LinkedIn. I have my website is www.jamespesutichcommunications.com. Let's have a conversation. And if you want to join my podcast, let me know. And thank you, everyone. And let's have a great week. And I'll see you again next time. Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by LifeWave. Ready to elevate your wellness game? Meet X39 from LifeWave.com. This game-changing patch uses phototherapy to stimulate your skin, enhancing strength and stamina by channeling your body's innate energy. Simply apply it to harness infrared heat, naturally boosting your vitality. Want to learn more? Visit www.lifewave.com/VernD and step into a healthier, more active lifestyle today. PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.